All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live session. This is live session number 108, and this is from the series How to Get a Professional Job in Australia. And this is part three of this special series that I'm doing of how to apply for an engineering job in Australia, where tonight I will cover some hints for your professional interview when applying for an engineering position. But first, for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida. I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification here in Australia. And I also share information about other subjects in engineering like workplace health and safety, environmental management, the day-to-day of engineering in Australia, and also obviously about professional engineering recruitment. And if you haven't joined my Telegram group yet, you can use the link that I'm going to paste in YouTube and Facebook. Those one is in Instagram. You can access this link in my bio. And if you don't know what Telegram is a messaging app like WhatsApp. But the only difference is that WhatsApp, they have an algorithm where the message doesn't really go to everybody. And in Telegram does not have an algorithm. So it means that all the messages and videos and audios that I post in the group, everybody gets it. And the number of people that can be part of the group is also different. In WhatsApp, you can just have 256 members in a group. And in Telegram, you can have, I believe, 200,000 people in a group. So in my current Telegram group, I've got about 820 people in the group. Thank you very much for that. And which means that everybody gets the messages. Obviously, then it's your discretion to open and to read or to listen to the message. Why am I saying that? Because it's important for you to be a member of the group. It's a free group. You don't need to pay anything. Because I'm going to do a PDF of this live session. And there will be some rules for me to post this PDF in the Telegram group. So I will be showing the PDF during the live session as well. So I'm just going to copy and paste the link of my group in YouTube, and then also pasting now in Facebook and those on Instagram. I'm going to paste in Instagram as well, but you can access when you go to my bio there. And also, for those that don't know, I sometimes promote a free online workshop. And in September, I'm going to start on the 5th of September, which is a Sunday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. I'm going to start the free workshop. I want to become an engineer in Australia. So that's the name of the workshop. And you can register to the next event using this link that I'm going to paste as well in Instagram. And then in YouTube and also in Facebook. So you can register there. You just need to leave your name and your email, and you will get a confirmation email that your registration for the workshop is confirmed. So let's get down to the business now. And I'm really happy to be here and share my experience as a recruitment panel member and chair of many panels who have recruited lots of engineers and project managers. And I have compiled many tips to help you guys, engineers, to get your first professional job here in Australia. And as I mentioned before, this is part 3 of the series, How to Apply for an Engineering Job in Australia. And part 3 is all about hints for your professional interview. So part 1 was about where and how to find engineering vacancies. And then part 2 was a tutorial about how to prepare your curriculum and your cover letter. And part 3 is about how you need to behave in a professional interview so you improve your chances to be successful in that professional interview. So I split this session in, I think, 3 parts. The first part is what are the important things to be aware of just before the interview. Just going to write in my PDF just before the interview. Just making sure that you guys are hearing, because every time that I change and I start writing, sometimes you guys can miss the audio, but I think you guys are all right. So what are the important things to be aware of just before the interview? Well, there are just few things that I believe are important for you to be aware prior of the professional interview. And those things, they're not limited to, but just few things that I really think that it's important for you guys to pay attention to. So first of all, read again the position description. When you are applying for the position, you usually have a position description or description of the job advertisement. So please read again so you refresh your memory of what the company is after. Read again your job application. So have a read again of your CV or resume and your cover letter that you submitted. Why is that important? Because the panel members, they will have your CV and your cover letter with them, and they may ask some questions that you ended up writing in your documents. Another important hint is to review the company's website. And why is that important? Companies will probably ask you some questions about what do you know about their company. So it's important for you to know what the company does, some of the projects that the company is delivering, perhaps some of the values and mission of the company as well. It's probably important to revisit some of the difficult questions you may need to answer. You may or may not know, but usually panel members, they may ask you questions that are not quite related to the job description or the job advertisement. These are some of the questions that panel members usually will ask you to test you some of your self-awareness or test your soft skills as well. And some of the questions, they could be, please talk a little bit about you. What do you know about our company? What are your points for improvements? They might ask you your weaknesses, but also they might ask you what are your points for improvements, and so on. So there are some questions that you need to be prepared of. And when you don't really know how to answer those questions, it means that you're probably not really having a very good self-awareness. So think about those questions, try to draft some of the answers before the interview, and then revisit those questions. So if you are asked those difficult questions, you're not going to kind of have difficulties in answering those. Another important thing to do before the interview is to practice breathing and positive thinking. It's very important to have a good breathing, especially because you're probably going to be nervous before going to the interview, and breathing is going to help you to relax. And by being relaxed, you're probably not going to have a blackout during the interview. It's also very important to arrive on time. You probably should arrive about 10 or 15 minutes before your scheduled time for your interview, because you never know. You ended up getting caught up in traffic, you could miss your bus, or another unexpected thing can happen, and then you probably be nervous. And if you arrive late to the interview, it's not going to be a very good first impression as well. And then the second point that I would like to share with you guys is how to behave when you arrive at the interview room. So you arrive at the company, you go to the reception, and then they'll say, yeah, could you please wait in this waiting room? Or they might have a separate room, because in some companies you may receive some questions prior to the interview. And usually they'll give you about 15 minutes to prepare yourself and think about those questions, and then you can kind of scribble some of your notes because it will help you to answer the questions during the interview. And those questions, they are usually about the key competencies or selection criteria. So it means that if you have, let's say, 5 key competencies, you may end up having like 5 scenarios or 5 questions, or 1 question with 2 or 3 sub questions. So, and you think that 15 minutes is going to be enough, but yeah, believe in me, 15 minutes go really, really quick. And if you have like 5 questions, you're probably going to be able to take notes and think about 3 questions, and the other 2, you will probably not going to have a lot of time to think about it. And if you have any questions about the professional interview, you can put in the comments. I will be checking the comments pretty soon. So let's say that you ended up getting the questions and you got 15 minutes to think about it and take notes. So after those 15 minutes, you will be invited to the interview room where the panel members, they will be waiting for you. So how to behave then? Well, first of all, you're probably going to be very nervous, but it's important to enter in the interview room with confidence and happy to be there, having the opportunity to explore further your competencies and skills. And when I say happy to be there, with a big smile on your face, not laughing, but obviously with empathy and a big smile in your face, because you're happy to be there, having the opportunity for the interview. And this is different from being arrogant or too laid back. So when I mean confidence, you need to be obviously, not afraid to enter in the interview, etc., but not overly confident, because you could be kind of passing an impression of being arrogant. So you got to balance being confident and being happy or with a big smile without being arrogant, or try to not be too laid back as well. You certainly need to greet the panel members with confidence, obviously depending on the COVID restrictions. Nowadays, probably some of the interviews will be via Skype or via Zoom, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to kind of establish a rapport with the panel members. But even in a Zoom or Skype interview, you can still show that you're confident and that you're happy to be there. So greet the panel members with confidence. If you're going to shake hands, make sure that you don't really shake too strong, but also don't shake the hands, not very strong. You need to be able to demonstrate that you're confident. And then you make yourself comfortable, so it will be easier to get a little bit more relaxed. You got to remember that if you are nervous or too nervous for the interview, you increase your chances to end up forgetting some important points in your preparation. And I'm assuming that before the interview, you will be having a lot of preparations. You have already revisited your CV, your cover letter, your experiences. You have everything ready in your mind. So if you're not relaxed, there is a chance that you'll be forgetting. You could be have a blank mind and then forget some of the important things. And the panel chair will probably welcome you and thank you for your time and your application, and explain how the interview will be carried out. The panel chair will probably going to remind you about time management, how much time or how long usually those interviews they go for. Usually they go for like 45 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes for other questions, etc. But the main body of the interview will probably going to be about 45 minutes. So time management, it's certainly very important for you to observe and to make sure that you don't really go over time. They're probably going to talk about answering the questions. So some panels, they ask each question and then you answer them. Other panels, they kind of tell you that you're free to kind of just answer the questions, and time management is going to be part of the assessment as well. They probably going to ask you if you have any question to the panel now, or you can ask later. And if you have any presentation or handout, or if you need like a projector or PowerPoint, etc. But if you do, you probably already let them know when you confirm the interview. And as I said before, you either going to be asked the questions or you answer them without being asked. All right, so now I'm going to explain to you how we're going to do, so I can kind of share with you the PDF. So I'm going to show you the PDF, how the PDF is going to be. So that is the PDF that I prepared. So I think you guys can see that. So what is your fear in a professional interview? That is a question. And why do I have this question there? It's because in my last Instagram post, I'm just going to open up here. So this is my last Instagram post, tutorial in how to behave in a professional interview. So that is my last Instagram post. So what I would like you guys to do, I would like you guys to like the post, and then the description there, I put this question: what is your fear in a professional interview? So I would like you to like the post and write in the comments the answer of this question. And if I have some engagement, which means likes and comments, I will post this PDF. This is a Word document, so I'm going to make it as a PDF, and I'm going to post this in my Telegram group so you can download. So as you can see, what are the important things to be aware of? So I've got those dot points there. How to behave when you arrive in at the interview room. Some of those dot points there. And now I'm going to talk about during the interview. And this PDF is going to have will be protected by a password. And the password I'm going to share with you a little bit later. Okay, I'll go back to my notes there. So during the interview, so you prepared yourself, you refresh your memory about your application, you read the job description, you visited the company website, and then you arrived at the interview location, either in the company's office or in the recruitment agency office, and then you received the questions. You thought you had 15 minutes to think about the questions. You wrote your notes, and then you enter in the interview room. You greeted everybody there. You made yourself comfortable so you can start answering the questions, and then it starts the interview. So once you start answering the questions, it is very important to make very clear what questions you are answering. So let's say question number 1 is about, let's have a look at that job vacancy that we had a look last session. So just going there. So that is the job vacancy that we looked at the last live session. Was for an electrical engineer junior building services engineers in New South Wales. And this particular vacancy didn't have a job description as we saw last time, but there are a few things that we discussed. We discussed about positive attitude, strong design understanding, technical understanding, thorough technical understanding, communication, etc. About you and role specifics. So, and we mentioned that perhaps one of the competencies would be electrical engineering and in the fields of power, lighting, communication, security, etc. So let's pretend that one of the competencies, the first question was about this electrical engineer. And usually the questions, they are like, please tell the panel about a project where you have delivered an engineering electrical engineering project related to power or lighting or communications or security, and what was that project, what was the problem, and how did you go about it, etc. So that could be the question there. So if that is the question, so how would you approach and start answering that? So you start saying, well, I'm going to answer question number 1, which is about electrical engineering. And then you got to ensure that you make clear the example that you are using to prove your competency. That's very important because that is showing that you actually done it. So you can say, and I'm going to use an example when I delivered this electrical engineering project called whatever was the name of the project, and the scope was, and then you explain the scope, etc., etc. And also the panel, majority of panels that I know of, they like when the candidates, they follow a pattern. And the pattern to answer a question, especially in engineering interviews, they usually follow this pattern here. You have a description of the project or problem, the options that you came up with, the pros and cons of each option. What option did you choose and why did you choose that option? What was your role in the implementation? And what was the outcome and result achieved? If you follow this pattern, you're probably going to be covering a lot of the things that the panel members they want to know. So again, description of the problem or project, options that you came up with, the pros and cons of each option, what option did you choose and why, what was your role in the implementation, and what was the outcome or the result achieved. So usually this will probably cover a lot of things that the panel members they have, and you may or may not know, but panel members, they usually have in their package, they have the expected responses for those questions. So they have a list of the things that the candidates that they should be responding, and when you follow this pattern, you usually cover a lot of the things that the panel members are expecting that you will be covering. And also ask once you finish this approach for this question number 1, for example, also ask if the panel has any other question, if they need any clarification as well. And ensure to use enough technical terminology and standards for the hard skills questions. So hard skills are those ones that usually they are the technical ones. And for the soft skills questions, it's a good idea to show positive attitude, initiative, and willingness when you are answering those soft skills questions. Just going to check if is there any question there. In Facebook, I don't believe there's any question on Facebook. Instagram, there's no question there. And YouTube, there's a question there. Can you give some advice on writing a cover letter? Yeah, thanks, Tech Guru. I actually covered the cover letter in my last live session. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see that in my last live session on the 11th of July, I explained about the curriculum vitae and also explained and gave examples about the cover letter as well. But thanks for the question. And also while you're answering those questions, it's a good idea to be very objective and clear. Remember, you have 45 minutes usually to answer about 5 questions, which means that you will have about 9 minutes for each question. And you may think that 9 minutes it's a lot of time, but what happens is that you're probably going to spend a lot of time in the first 2 questions or 2 or 3 questions, and you're not going to have enough time to answer very well question number 4 and question number 5. And if questions number 4 and 5, they're very important with a heavy weighting in the weighting system, you perhaps could be in trouble because you're going to be rushing. You're probably not going to give a very good answer, and you could be penalized for that. So making sure that you manage your time, again, because you could be using a lot of time in the first 2 questions. So that is while you are answering those questions. I'm conscious of time, already half an hour. We're probably going to finish in very soon. I'm going to give you the password of the PDF very, very soon. So stick with me. So the other point in an interview is after answering all the questions. So let's say that 45 minutes have passed and you've answered all of the 5 questions. So once you finish answering all the questions, the panel will probably going to ask you some additional questions if they feel that you missed something. Sometimes they prompt you some questions when you are answering a particular question. Let's say you're answering a question on engineering, electrical engineering, and then you don't really cover one aspect. So if one aspect is really important, they might prompt you that question, and then you can answer that. You also have an opportunity to ask the panel if they have any other questions to you. They probably going to ask you if your referees are current and if the contact details of your referees are correct as per the curriculum vitae. Sometimes you don't really put your referees in the CV. Sometimes you put to be confirmed during the interview. If that's the case, the panel members probably going to ask you to confirm your referees at the interview, because they may need to check for your referees if you're going to be one of the selected candidates, or if you are the runner-up, for example. They probably also going to let you know a rough time frame for an outcome. Sometimes it can take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, depending on obviously how many other candidates they are interviewing and some of the approval processes as well. So to get you an offer letter. They also may ask you your salary expectation. That's always a tough question. Sometimes you don't know how much you're going to ask for, but they might ask you for your salary expectation as well. And also, if you're currently working, they may ask you what's your notice period. How much time do you need to provide to your current employer before you leave that job? So I believe that probably the minimum is 2 weeks notice. Some companies, they actually ask you 4 weeks even, depending on obviously the responsibilities and the projects that you are delivering at that time. And certainly they will thank you for your application and for your time in your interview. Got a couple more questions here in YouTube. Yeah, thanks, Tech Guru. Yeah, if you can check the videos, my last video is about the cover letter. And then Bernardo in YouTube, he's asking, good evening, Gerson. You commented on WhatsApp group that we need to include all the job we've done while we wasn't working at engineer area. Don't you think the resume will be too longer for the recruiter to read? Yeah, that's a very good point, Bernardo. So that comment that I put in the WhatsApp group, it's when you are doing your validation process. So the CV that you do for your validation process is certainly going to be different from the CV that you're going to do when you are applying for a job. When you are applying for a job, you don't really put everything. You put the experiences that are relevant to that job that you are applying for. When you are applying for your validation of your engineering qualification here in Australia, you need to include all experiences since you have graduated. Even if you took a break, let's say that you took 1 year and traveled around the world, you cannot have that gap. You gotta put in your CV that you took 12 months of break and you traveled around the world, for example. Or if you came to Australia and you've been studying for the last 2 years, not working as an engineer, for example, you need to include in your resume that after obviously your graduation, that since 2019, for example, you came to Australia and you are studying English, or you're studying a certificate 3 or advanced diploma or diploma, etc. So that information in the WhatsApp group is basically for the validation process, Bernardo. In the job application, you sometimes don't include some of the experiences that are not really relevant to that job application there. But thanks for the question. All right, so I'm going to give you guys the password for this PDF. Just going to show you how the PDF is taking shape. So that's the PDF there, how to get a professional job in Australia. And again, this is the question there. What is your fear in a professional interview? So just go to my Instagram. My profile in Instagram is @GersonIda. And my last post is this tutorial on how to behave in a professional interview. And the question there, what is your fear in a professional interview? So what I would like you guys to do is to like that post and write in the comments the answer of the question, what is your fear in a professional interview? And if I have likes and comments, then I will make this Word document. I'll show you here. I'll make this Word document as a PDF, and then I'm going to post in my Telegram group. And for you to join my Telegram group, the link is in the comments as well. So what are the important things to be aware of? How to behave when you arrive at the interview room, during the interview, and after answering all the questions there. So you're also going to show you, if you are interested to participate in the free workshop that's going to happen starting on the 5th of September, Sunday, 10 a.m. Brisbane time. This is the website of the workshop. If you are not registered yet, you can go to, and this link is already there in the comments on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, angequalvalworkshop.com. So if you're not registered yet, you can just click on this button there, and then it will open up a registration page where you just need to include your name and your email. So just put your email there. Let's say here's, and that's my name. I'm a Brazilian and I'm living in Australia, and then I register. So once you register, you go to a confirmation. Go to a confirmation page where there's a couple of videos. One is in English, another one is in Portuguese, just explaining how emails are difficult to arrive. So that's why you could join my WhatsApp group for the workshop. So if you join the WhatsApp group, I will be sending the notifications of the workshop in the WhatsApp group as well. So it's more certain that you will get the information there. And if you have any question on my website, you can chat with me. You can send there's some testings that I did, and you can put your message and send it, and it will come to myself. And on the workshop page, there is the calendar there of the workshop with all the events. So the opening webinar, and then the live sessions and the videos, and etc, etc. So, and there are some, you can also join the WhatsApp group here from the workshop page as well. Okay, so the password for this PDF is going to be job well done. So for those ones, I'm going to actually put in the comments. People that not really watching the live, they won't know. So job well done. That's in YouTube. Job well done in Instagram, and job well done in Facebook. Everything in small letters. So that's going to be the password for this PDF. I'm going to check a few more questions there. There's a question in YouTube from Tech Guru. And no worries, Bernardo. Yeah, he's thanking for the explanations. And Tech Guru, is or she is asking, could you please give some suggestions on finding jobs as an international graduate without much experience in the field? Yes, again, Tech Guru, sorry, but if you go to my first live session of this series, the session that I did on the 4th of July, I had the full tutorial where and how to find engineering jobs. So I explained all the websites that you can go, and how you can kind of search for jobs, how you can activate the alerts, so you get your notifications when you are searching for some types of jobs. So if you go to my channel again, and then if you go back to my live session 106, I'll put here, so live 106 is about where and how to find jobs. Live 107 was about the CV and cover letter. So I'm going to paste these in Instagram as well, so you guys know that, and Facebook. And then live 106 and 107 is about the CV and cover letter, all in my YouTube channel there. Okay, so I don't believe we have more questions there. I would like to thank you guys, and I hope that these tips have been helpful, and those tips, they can assist you to find a professional and engineering job here in Australia. I would like to thank you very much for your attendance and participation and for your questions. And I will see you again next Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, with another live session. Next session is probably going to be about the engineering qualification validation here in Australia. I will see you then. Bye-bye.